nice to have you in. Can you let us know your name and what you do for a living?
Sure. My name is Paula Masadas Pereira. I'm a librarian and I'm an author and I'm an illustrator too.
Can you tell us a little bit about where you were born and perhaps where you were raised?
I was born and raised in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, and I came here in 2000. Sure. I cannot complain. I had a very good childhood. The only issue that I had growing up is because I really couldn't go places, um, because my parents were very concerned about letting us leave the gated community. We lived in a condominium for most of my childhood. And because there's a lot of crime happening outside, we were not allowed to go many places. So we had like a driver that would take me to places. Like if I wanted to go to the mall, it was either my mom or the driver would do it. So I felt like very confined to that place. But it was a good childhood. I had a nice house, like a 3-story house with a swimming pool and a sauna, and there were so many kids in that condominium with me that, it made my childhood very special. And because of my father's profession, we stayed indoors a lot. We didn't travel a lot. So because he was always like writing songs on the 3rd floor of the house, and like super busy with that. And my mom was a banker. Well, not a banker. She used to work at a bank, and she also had like a restaurant. So like a small restaurant, and that specialized in codfish. Out of everything, codfish. I don't know why, but so she was very busy all the time, but I stayed home with my father, and we had maids too. But that's pretty normal for like a traditional Brazilian family. If you're like middle class or upper class, you have like maids taking care of everything for you. So that was a big transition when I got here, and like, hey, Paula, you have to do everything. You're washing the dishes, you're doing everything yourself, So, but my childhood was very nice. I had like family coming over all the time, and my mom loved cooking every weekend. So we had a feast every weekend, like going from breakfast all the way to the end of the night. I just remember sitting on the table, either going to the pool or eating and eating and eating some more, because that was a big family tradition, having like family, my cousins and my aunt and uncles coming over. And that's how we spent most of our weekends, with a lot of music, and, that was nice. I think like times with my grandma, like I remember her telling us stories and watching soap operas with them, because it's a big deal like in Brazil, like just watching everything with family, and even the maid that was there taking care of us for so many years. It was just nice. I guess there's a lot of food. I keep going back to food because it's the reality. My mom is a great cook, and she always bakes and cooks everything from scratch, and it just tastes very good. So that's her way of bonding with us too. Like even nowadays when I go to her house, it's just all food all the time, and it feels good because it's just an excuse for us to sit down and talk about not only us but life in general, what we think about politics and everything. It goes crazy, but we can talk for hours and hours. My family and I, like, we're really close in that sense of like communication, and just so that, I guess that's a family tradition, to just talk.
That's a good one.
Yeah, but I never had that were like indoor
Uh-huh.
pets. I had like a bunch of cats from the neighborhood that would just show up, or I had like a fish tank, but that my uncle gave to us when I was probably like 9. But I remember he put a bunch of fish there that shouldn't be together, because they were just, killing each other inside the tank. So I mean, yeah, I had and this uncle, I mean, he's something else. He's very friendly and nice, but he wouldn't ask permission from my parents to bring this stuff. He would just show up with a bunch of pets, or like 4 ducks and 4 chicks. He showed up in my house, and I had cats all over, so we had to hide the ducks, and it was just a mess. But yeah, but I never had like a pet that would be like indoors with me, like sleeping and everything. So it becomes part of your family, I guess, right? I had a pet, and my pet recently died. I had a cat, and he adorable and not adorable at the same time. But and actually, like the book that I'm writing will be dedicated to him. You know, it's in loving memory of my dear cat. You know, yeah. So that's my way of coping with the loss. You know, of a cat, because we all experience like loss in different ways, and that was my way. So many things happened at that time. Yeah, I remember that my parents told me, Paula, we're thinking of going to the US. And I was excited about it and nervous about it at the same time, because I had been here in Los Angeles. I came here for the first time in 1992, and I loved it. As a kid, I was 11 years old at the time. I absolutely love it. I remember going to Disneyland and like Hollywood, and I thought everything was so nice and clean. And sometimes people say, no, this is like, it's not so clean. LA is dirty, and like the freeways and traffic is so bad. I didn't think so. I thought that everything was like super well organized. And I loved going like to, you know, 99-cent stores and buying some toys that I didn't have in Brazil. And I thought it was so cool and so cheap compared to prices. So, that's what I remember when I first got here. And so when my parents told me this later on, like about in 2000, 2000 is when we came. So maybe in 98 is when he told me, my father, that we were thinking of coming. I had like, I loved the idea, but I was also very nervous about it, because I knew that this was going to be a permanent move, you know. So at 18, 19, that's a very big change, you know. And I had one additional situation at that time. I had a boyfriend, and he was very serious. So we had to figure everything out of how we were going to do it. And you know, even having to say goodbye to family and friends, and it was very painful. But at the end, we were able to work everything out. My boyfriend came with me. Now he's my husband. We've been together for 18 years. But it is a traumatizing experience, I would say. You know, there's life before and after a family immigrates. So he we had a good life when we were living there, and like I said, I cannot complain about it, because there are so many other people living in much worse conditions, and my condition was very good. But I guess his thing was more to he was offered a job here, to work at a company here to write more songs for this company. And he was also thinking about our future, especially for me and my sister, because since we were in this gated community and we couldn't do much, I was always wondering, how am I going to be able to live a life in this country here? I'm talking about Brazil. Like, how would I be able to go places or go to the university if I cannot even leave this place? How would I be able to survive and, you know, even learn how to deal with the dangers of the place? Like, you know, because the dangers are real, you know. We have stories of, even my mom was like robbed at gunpoint in Brazil, and like we have heard my boyfriend, I mean my husband, was robbed many times there too. So you hear stories, and I understand the concerns that my parents had at the time, but it was very hard to be at a place that I couldn't go places. So that's, I guess that's one of the main reasons too, that my parents wanted to move. And I guess that's the reason of so many immigrants to think alike too, because they also want to give a better future for their children as well. Everything was different here. It's like being born again. That's what I felt like, because when I first when I was in Brazil, and when I first came here in 1992, there was a possibility that we're going to be moving around that time. It would be immigrating here to the U.S., but that didn't happen. But because of that, my parents decided to enroll me into an English. It was an after-school program, you know, twice a week. So I started taking classes there. So I took English classes for about 8 years. And when I got here, I thought that English was not going to be a problem. I thought I knew English, like that wasn't going to be any issue. But I was so wrong. I remember just, you know, getting here and trying to talk to people, and they really couldn't understand what I was saying. And it was extremely frustrating, because I had to realize, like, wow, I'm going to pretty much have to start again. because everything I was learning from the teachers there, pronunciation was not right. So, yeah, so that learning English was a major issue for me. And also learning about like how everything works. When you first come to a new country, I guess the tendency for many immigrants is just to compare. Like, oh, in my country, this is not done this way. Like in my country, we eat this food. And I guess eating different kinds of food to me, I had never experienced that. Or like meeting people from other parts of the world. In Brazil, I remember just like one time I met a girl that came from Spain, but other than that, I don't remember meeting a lot of immigrants. Everybody's just, it's all the same. We dress alike, we think alike, and it was just no diversity whatsoever. So to me, when I first got here, and I had to take like English classes again, right? ESL classes, it was amazing. I was just overwhelming. It was overwhelming, but it was also like so cool and nice. Like, where are you from? Like, what are your values? Like, what is your religion? I didn't know any of that. So it was fascinating. So it was hard having to adjust and start college because I had just graduated high school when I came here. But it was challenging, but the good challenge, the challenge that makes you want to move forward, Sure. I feel like if I was in their shoes and if I had now, I mean, looking back, because we've been here, like my family and I, for about 17 years, and I'm older right now, so I can see things in a different way. I think that if I was in my parents' shoes, I would probably have done the very same thing, just to try to. I don't have children right now, but if I had children, I would definitely try to give them a better future, like a better education, better chances, opportunities, so I guess, and that was very hard for them because they came when I think my mom was like in her late 40s and my dad was in his 50s. So it's a different kind of transition, right? Where you spent like a big chunk of your life in one country and now having to learn not only language, but how to deal with a new culture. It's much harder. But I'm happy that they did this, and I think that they were able to adjust to life here too, and I feel like they like it. So I think it worked out well for everybody. Oh yeah, they are very happy with their decision. I don't think, I mean, knowing my parents, I don't think they would be able to be there, anymore. I feel like they belong here. They like it here. It's more quiet in a way. I see Brazil as a very where people are constantly going out and having fun, and like during a weekday, people hang out, go to the movies, do a bunch of things. And here in the U.S., it's more like people work, they buy grocery, and then go home. You don't really see people interacting and hanging out and doing a lot of things, weekday. It's much more festive there. Like you see people at the beach, you see people everywhere, pretty much everywhere all the time. Here, I can go for a walk and I may see, like, if I walk for an hour, I can see 2 people. Like, where are they? I know that they're working or they're sleeping, but it's so different, the way of life. Yeah, I think here it's I would like to have a little bit more of Brazil, here, because I like a little bit more activities, and I feel like people hang out more and have more friends. I feel like here as an immigrant, I feel a little bit isolated. I don't know if it's my personality or if it's just because I'm an immigrant. I don't know. But working at the library is what gives me interaction with people, and that's what I like a lot. And that's what inspired me to do so many things, because I was able to not feel alone and feel like, oh, okay, my experience is me. There are other people going through the same thing I'm going through, so. Well, we started like establishing a routine, right? Of like, not everything is just, eating out and just doing all these things. It's just, there's a lot of hard work involved, especially if you want to accomplish anything and get an education and go to school and work. I think I quickly realized that it wasn't necessarily how I thought it would be. because I feel like most immigrants, or maybe I don't know, I don't think it just happened to me. What they have an idea of what they're going to experience, and then they actually come here and they just realize, oh my gosh, it has nothing to do with what I thought it was going to be like, you know. But yeah, I guess just working really, I didn't think that it was going to take this much effort to be able to, you know, get a full-time job, for example. You know, I think people have the impression that, oh, you just go there and there are jobs everywhere and you apply for them and then it's that easy. And I just, you know, it's not. Yeah, so that's something that I had to really, really work for. And that's what I'm proud of like being able to stick with that plan and like don't take breaks, just keep going straight and take all the classes that you need to take in order to be able to, you know, get your education. Because nowadays, everywhere you go, you need that piece of paper, you know, called like a degree. So you will be able to get jobs, you know, because otherwise, many times people don't accept it if you don't have a degree. Well, okay. So let me tell a little bit more about what I've done at the library. Because in order to learn English and to get some experience, I remember taking an ESL class, and my teacher, which was very nice, she said, "Paula, you're doing really well, but you know what? Your problem is you need to engage. You need to just practice everything you're learning here in class. You're doing well, but I mean, you're not going to learn until you put yourself out there and you make all the mistakes you need to make, and that's how you grow." You know, and I guess that's a lot of times people don't want to make mistakes, and that's the issue, you know. And I keep telling everybody, like, I still make mistakes, and that's normal. We just need to know that you're going to be able to overcome them if you want to. But I started working there in 2001 as a library page, just putting books away. And I remember on the interview, they were asking me questions. So, what are your previous job experiences? I'm like, no, none. I've never worked before, and I didn't know the language really well. But I said, but I'm willing to learn. And they decided to give me a chance. So I remember working at the circulation desk and sweating, really sweating physically, because I was nervous about, you know, sometimes I had to be by myself and the phone would ring. I'm like, what do I say? I had like a little note. It was like, yeah, a flashcard where I had to write down information that I heard from my supervisors. I'm like, oh, this is what you say. It's first come, first serve. Or she gets the phone and she says, library, may I help you? Or something. I didn't know how to phrase this. So I had to write everything down. So I learned so much when I was at the library. And then I decided to got my BA in psychology. And then I decided to, I'm like, I like it here. I would love to continue and become a librarian, but I thought that I didn't need a master's degree to become a librarian. And then I realized that I need it. So I decided to go for that too. So graduated, long story short, graduated in 2009 with my master's. And at that time, I was working as a full-time library technical clerk at Cerritos College. And I really liked it, but there were no jobs at Cerritos College for a full-time librarian. And there were no jobs whatsoever in Southern California. So my husband and I decided that we should give it a try and go to another place. So I ended up going to Dallas, Texas. Like, okay, let's start this fresh again and give it a chance and see what we think about it. And he was in a PhD program at the time, but he could do it being away from the program and just write his dissertation. So we decided to just do it. And I was there, and I was working as a librarian there in charge of circulation. But then I started getting books for ESL because I wanted to start a special collection for ESL. They really didn't have anything established for ESL students. And I decided to invite some teachers and students, and I was offering them like a library tour with some of the resources that we have at the library. And I noticed that so those were immigrants, you know, so I noticed that they were not very motivated. You know, they were talking to me, but they were saying, you know, I'm here, but I don't feel like I'm going anywhere. I'm not really learning. So I just had an idea. I said, I've had so many people, even before I got my degree, that were that had talked to me about their experiences too. And I said, well, maybe I need to do something about it. So I don't even know how I wrote this. It's like I just sat down and I just started writing, and like in 2 days I had written everything. But I guess the biggest challenge that I had was, how would I do the illustrations? Because I didn't know how to paint, so I had to learn everything myself so I would be able to illustrate it. But it was really the students and everybody that I had talked to that inspired me to say, hey, I went through this problem of learning English, and everybody around me seems to be facing the same issue too. So I'm going to go ahead and try to do something to inspire them and to show them that they can improve their English too. I remember like I was actually looking for an illustrator. And then I was thinking, and then my dad told me, he said, I started like sketching a few things because I was just flirting with the idea of doing it. And then I sent some of my like work, the very beginning stages, to my family. And I remember my dad saying, no, Paula, no, you can do it. You should do it yourself. I said, no, I don't know anything. What are you talking about? And he said, no, no, no. Just focus. You're going to be able to do it. And my sister, she has a master's in art. So she was able to give me a lot of pointers of like what materials I should purchase, because I used like acrylic paints to do the illustration. So she gave me some ideas on how to get started. And of course, the first ones, I just hated them and I threw them away. And I spent like a lot of nights just trying to come up with something better, until I came up with the illustrations that I thought, okay, this is good enough at this point in my life, and I think it's ready to be published. That's the okay. I always get this question of they say, Paula, is this your story? Well, no, it's not. I was going to say yes and no, because it has some elements of things that I went through. Like, so the name of the main character is Claudia Sanchez. She's from Mexico. I'm from Brazil. And people are like, why did you write a story of somebody from Mexico if you're from Brazil? I said, well, I just met so many nice Mexicans along the way that I'm like, why not about them, since there are so many Mexicans here in the U.S. But there are some aspects that are things that I also went through. So this is really the story of everything that I heard, that a lot of the immigrants have in common, like, because the main character of the book, she actually, she gets here, she doesn't know any English, so she needs to find a job, she needs to find a place to live, and she struggles to do all of that. And then there's a flyer that she gets in her home that advertises classes at a community college, and she decides to do that. And it shows like her study skills and determination to be able to overcome all the the hard work that many people go through of like working and then going to school and multitasking in order to be able to achieve what she wanted, and at the end she does. Don't tell anybody I'm telling you that. I'm already telling you the end of the story. But yeah, at the end she does. And I wanted to write this in a very simple language because my idea was not to make the story too complicated. I wanted it to be simple. I just wanted the immigrants and the students in general to get the main message of the story, that through determination you're going to get what you want most of the times in life. I'm going to confess something to you and to the camera right now. That I was not a good student in high school at all, not at all. I really didn't know how to study. I would just go to school and then go home and take several naps and just eat, and I didn't know what to do with that information. And I met my husband in middle school in Brazil. So, and he was always very focused, and he just did super well, and he was always one of the best students in school. So when we all came here and I saw how he was studying, he didn't even have to say anything to me. I just learned that, oh, this is how you do it. You're not supposed to be taking naps in the afternoon. You're supposed to be open your books and really focus, and read and highlight. And so I learned from him a lot of these things, So and that is really true. And everything that I learned from my teachers too, of like, if you learn something, you need to apply what you learned, so that becomes like second nature to you, and that's how you're going to improve too. Because if it's just all mentally, then I don't know. I like the idea of helping others. So to me, that that's what my passion is. Definitely. And still, like nowadays, I mean, everything I do, I always share with my family. Like, I'm constantly sending like pictures, even though I don't see my parents every day, but I send my mom like a lot of pictures of what I'm doing, and they encourage me in everything that I'm doing. They don't want me to stop. They want me, if they see that I'm interested in any little thing, they keep pushing until I am able to overcome whatever challenges I have to make that happen, so that's nice. Yes, I am actually writing another one right now that's going to be about a Cuban lady and her cat. Uh, and it's more geared towards children, but it's very good for family literacy too, because even this book and the next book too, um, my idea is to get families to read together and to motivate each other. And on this next book, it's going to talk about uh, this older lady. She went through a lot of things. She came from Cuba and she lives in the US, and she has a cat. And she, even though she had a lot of challenges, you don't even notice too much of the challenges that she had, because the way she sees life is so energizing and and motivating that I think people can resonate with the story too, because they can say, hey, maybe I need to take a look at my life more like this way. And it's a good way to talk to children about overcoming their challenges too. I love what I do. I mean, I think because I feel like I was given a second chance, when I came here, like coming from a person that really didn't care so much about education, you know, um, I feel like I go to work now, and I walk around my campus, and I keep thinking to myself, like, I was a student here, and now I'm a faculty member here. I'm a teacher, I'm a librarian, but I also teach classes there of library resources to ESL students most of the time. So I I I cannot believe sometimes, So I'm still in that stage that sometimes people say, "Oh, you're gonna get over this." I'm not gonna get over this. I feel like I'm gonna be 90, and I hope that I am as thrilled and excited as I am nowadays to continue moving forward and continue motivating people, because that's, to me, that's what makes life worth it, you know? Okay, so these are some of the challenges that I had. So I just wanted to, because I love this country so much, I wanted to do one illustration, like one painting of the American flag, and this one in particular is acrylic paint, and it took me about 15 hours of work, because the first layers, there are several layers of work right here. The first layers, it seems like it was done by a 3-year-old until you can get a little better. So, and I have, of course, the Brazilian flag here too. It means like order and progress. So I like having this around to remind me where I came from and where I am nowadays, because as an immigrant, I feel like these two countries really define in many ways who I am nowadays. And I'm proud to have, different perspectives of things nowadays in life, So sometimes when people think that certain things are really awful, I see like, no, it could be worse, than it is right now. So I'm really proud of the person that I became, but I still want to do better. I don't want to stop where I am right now. I feel like I have a lot to learn and a lot to grow, and I hope that I'm going to keep growing and helping others, because that's what I would love to do. Yeah, I actually, in 1996, my family and I, we went to Florida for about a month. So we rented a house there, and I loved it. It was like open concept, and with the kitchen and the living room combined together. And this is like so LA, like all the houses here are pretty much like that. So, but I loved it. I felt like the families can stay more connected, So, and it was a good way for us to have like a little sample of how life would be like, even though it's not a real sample, because when you're a tourist, you're just shopping and going to Disneyland, and that's not what we do, living here, even though many people, I mean, I know that many people like in Brazil and other countries too, when they think about LA, they think that we live like in Hollywood, in like movies, or that's not the reality of what we do. We work a lot, right, around here, right? Driving, yeah, getting on the freeway. And to me, they were going super fast, like 65, 70 miles an hour. Oh my gosh. Because I was, in Brazil, when we drive, I mean, I think we think about kilometers, we don't think about miles. And oh my gosh, it's so fast. And I was always afraid, of driving on the freeway. And now you just don't think about it anymore. Just do it, and it's second nature to everybody here. Like if you live in LA, in this area, you just have to drive. You need to go on the freeway and just, and it's not a big deal at all. But it's just that, or even the carpool lane, like, oh, that's super fast, You just get used to it. It's part of life. About family. So to me, I guess the worst person that I think that suffered the most was my grandma. Like I remember the last day I was in the house was going to be sold to another family. So we were cleaning everything the very last day that we had to go to the airport. And I remember that she was there, and like we were all devastated. She wasn't going to just lose one person. It was like five people that she really cared for that was going to go away, and her life was going to be so empty. And back then, it's not like today that we have technology and internet that just works so greatly that, we can use like WhatsApp, hey, and talk to everybody. Back then, if I wanted to send something to Brazil, I would have to take like that big old camera to the streets and like, this is where I live, this is where I go to school, and then mail that VHS tape. So then 20 days later, they will be able to watch something. So it was like a big deal. So anyway, but to answer your question, having to say goodbye to her, we had to call like a cab to, take her home. And I remember she just got in that cab. She couldn't even look at us anymore. She was just weeping, and seeing that, that's one of the, it was very traumatic, I guess. Like, as a matter of fact, because my grandma she died like a few years after that. And we really thought that, part of it was maybe due to also like, she was very sad. It just totally changed, her routine, because she used to come and visit. And yeah, so we always talk about it. So I think all of us, when we move to another country, we experience that, those moments of like that we never forget, like of the last days, or how was it like for each one of us. We have like sad moments of like hugging people for the last time, and people that we were not going to see anymore, or like that passed away, or so that was pretty traumatizing. And I remember like walking through each one of the rooms of my house, because I was there for about 15 years, and just trying to look at every corner so I wouldn't forget how it was like, and just the idea of not being able to return to that place anymore. It was a little strange, right? Because, or even if I did, which I have been, because my aunt took me to, the last time I went to Brazil, about 3 years ago, she actually took me to this gated community. We were able to go in, and I saw the house again. We hugged and we cried, because she used to go there a lot too, to spend time with us. But the house is not the same anymore. So it's all in my memory and the pictures that I have right now. So it's a very difficult experience to leave it all behind and start fresh again, and not forgetting who you are in the process too, right? Because you are a combination of what you lived there and what you lived here, and you try to get the best out of both worlds. It's a big journey. And when people talk to me about their experiences too, I mean, it's nice, because I don't feel alone. I feel like, well, I understand you. And it's nice to have people that understand us, right? That really get us. Not only like, oh yeah, like a superficial understand, but like a really at a deeper level, you know? That would be my parents and my husband, my sister. We were like all, you know, together in this process. So we understand each other when it comes to that. We had like a very nice family from the company that my father was working uh, at the time that really helped us. You know, this family, they helped rent a house for us and buy food and put inside the pantry and, you know, buy like the basic needs, bed and everything. So the first day that we got here, we would already have everything sort of arranged, you know, even like a washer and dryer, everything already installed in the house. So I'm very appreciative of what they did for us, because maybe it seems like it was a small gesture, but to me, it just made us feel like more, like it was a welcoming thing, you know. So that was beautiful. And I even told, you know, this lady that, you know, that I never forgot what she did for us, and that I appreciated what her family had done, you know, because the beginning you're just so lost. You don't even know how to go to the grocery store. You don't know where to mail a letter. You don't know anything. You don't know how to drive. You're scared of everything, you know. You're scared of talking to people because you don't know if they would understand what you're trying to say. So it's and then, but later you start becoming more like yourself again, you know, a new and improved version of you after you go through all the trauma of adapting. So yeah, I think I wanted to thank, like, you know, my parents and my family. Even my in-laws have been very supportive of us here, being here too. And I'm sure that it was very hard for them, you know, having, you know, their son not living with them, you know, starting at age 18. Because in Brazil, it's not like it is here. Like the tradition here is like, you're 18, okay, you can start moving out, you know. And then just thinking about your life over there, no, we stick with our parents until we feel like we have enough to be able to move out on our own, you know. So at 18, nobody gets out of the house at the age of 18. But so I'm thankful that they did believe in our love, that they trusted us, and then, you know, so I'm glad that everything worked out.
On that note,
Yeah.
we'll go ahead and conclude the session. Thank you for coming.
Thank you. I appreciate it. Thank you all. I appreciate everybody.
Yeah. You feel good?
I feel good. You made me feel very relaxed, so I appreciated it. That was nice. So did it sound
Wonderful.
okay?
It was fantastic.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. You mentioned that you have pictures of your old house.
Yeah, I can send it. I can,
Yeah,
because
we'd love that.
yesterday I was at like 3 in the morning.